Welcome to stay in Florence. How are you feeling today?
Yes, appreciating the sunshine here in Belfast. So
I
my
love
mood
that.
definitely today.
Woo! Did you work today?
I've been doing a few bits. I'm trying to stay more on using my holidays and not just working all the time because you can easily fall into that being a business owner and working for yourself. So I'm trying to
Yes.
schedule my holidays more responsibly now.
Yeah, actually, I'm not celebrating this Easter because I'm Orthodox, and I completely forgot that this is like a yesterday was Good Friday here, and tomorrow is Easter. So I completely forgot that actually people are on holidays and leaving the city, going on like their like mini vacations or whatever. And actually, it's so important to kind of think of that, like just to get a bit relaxed, I guess.
Definitely.
So I will ask you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about what you do and who you are, and then we can go into all the lovely stuff that you make.
Great. Yeah, well, my name is Florence, and I founded a brand called Keziah about 4 years ago now. And everything I make is sustainable in its material, but also in the design as well. So I source my materials from lots of markets, either sort of vintage or dead stock. And then when I'm designing, I like to consider how the garment is going to be versatile in its fit, but also its design. So it means that it will last in your wardrobe for as long as possible and will have many forms of life, and hopefully won't end up in a charity shop anytime
Yes,
soon.
I love that. And that's so important to say and mention. Like I wanted to say as well that you do like a custom design. So also you take like a measurements of people. And I think the first thing that when I went on your Instagram, what caught my eye is that you do the sizes like till UK 24, if I saw correctly. That's so brilliant. Like, and I think not a lot of people that are upcycling at the moment and that are designing the clothes are doing that. But how did you get this idea to start this at all? Like your brand, what inspired you to start this brand in general?
Well, I've been making like since I was really little. My mum, when I was growing up, would make clothes for me, and then when I was sort of old enough, started to teach me how to sort of use a sewing machine and put clothes together. So I've always been surrounded by sort of people making clothes and learning how to do it.
Mhm.
So found a love for it very early on, and then after school I went to Glasgow to study. So I studied fashion, and then started working in the industry very early on. Would be often cutting myself up and down from London to Glasgow, trying to like
Yeah.
squeeze in fashion shows and do as much as possible. So I worked for various different fashion companies for a while, and then when lockdown happened, my partner is from Belfast and he was living over here. So I was like, oh, I'll take a little break and come over here for a couple of months and sort of think about what I want to do. And then I kind of had the idea that I would go back to London, when everything had calmed down. And in the break, I started making clothes for myself. It was always something that I wanted to do more of. It was sort of the classic question when you're like a sewer or a designer is like, oh, did you make this thing that you're wearing? And you're always like, no, because I don't have any time.
Yes.
But it was nice to finally have the time to make clothes for myself. And yeah, I just fell in love with it, and I kind of decided that I didn't really want to go back. And started my brand, and yeah, I've been going since. I think it sort of started around summer 2020. um
Yeah, it's kind of like a COVID time, I would say, definitely, because you mentioned the lockdown as well. And I think for a lot of people, lockdown was kind of decision-making process, like what am I doing with my life? Let's see, let's review everything and let's see what is best for yourself or for your business and for your career and everything. Because it was the time to slow down. And I think sustainability picked on a big part of it picked on at that time as well, because we weren't driving cars anymore. We weren't like doing a lot of things that were kind of day to day, normal day to day. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. You did a good decision because you make some lovely clothes. Like,
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
yeah, and what I love is that I saw on your website that one of the reasons why you started was that you couldn't find literally like a brand that it's bold and colorful and all and sustainable at the same time. And often when people describe sustainability, they say beige, you know?
Yeah, it seems to be sort of the go-to, and I think it's definitely got better since I've started, but definitely, 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of the sort of handmade, sustainable businesses were sort of naturally using very natural organic materials. So a lot of them tended to be sort of cottons and linens and would be in that sort of beige sort of area. And I like very sort of bold poppy sort of fashion. And for me, there wasn't really anything that was really ticking the boxes. So that's one of the reasons why I started making clothes for myself, and thought I would maybe have a space to sort of create things for other people as well.
Yeah, and we are very grateful for that. Yeah, I wanted to ask you as well, like when obviously you have your website where you sell your clothes, and I wanted to know as well, like if somebody wants to order something custom made or like have measurements and stuff like that, can they do that over website or they can contact you directly over Instagram, or what's the story with that when they are ordering, for example?
Yeah, so my DMs are open, but I also pick up emails. So
Mm.
whatever works for you. But yeah, if you want a custom made piece, definitely get in touch. At the moment, my store is not open. I've sort of switched up to doing drops. So
Yes, yeah.
put a bigger focus on creating new work that really sort of comes from me and is my best work. And I've got really busy in the last couple of years, and it's sort of like compromised new things that I've put out. So I am changing up into a drop format. So there'll be another drop coming soon, but when the store is open, all the pieces will have sort of a drop down of sizing, sort of as you normally would when you're shopping. And there is a option for custom, and you
Oh,
can fill
lovely.
in all your details on the website. So you don't even need to get in touch. But if you need any help measuring yourself, I know it's not like a common thing people do. So lots of people don't know always the best way of doing it. So if you have any questions on that, by all means, yeah, DMs or email. I can definitely help people figure out their size and then put in an order.
Yeah, I love that. I love that option that you have. Like, it's very good because, and as you said, it's so important because I obviously I work with two fashion brands as well. So when I know how to measure, but it's doesn't a lot of people don't know how to measure properly themselves or what to do with that. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it's so handy to have something custom made for you because you know it's gonna fit you perfectly, like, and you're gonna wear that item for a very, very long time. Um,
Like when I have the opportunity, I make everything myself, so I have the opportunity to be able to make things individually different. Whereas when you're working with factories, it's harder to make things specialized to a size. So as I have the opportunity to do it, I think I want to make the most of that and
yeah.
make, garments that people will hopefully, wear a lot more and keep for longer, because it is true to them and it's not slightly off or slightly too big or slightly too small, because it can be really hard to get sizes
Yeah.
right. And, I think it's getting worse and worse in terms of like kind of how every brand is slightly different from the other in terms of sizing, and you can never get it bang on. So definitely would encourage, if you're ever going to buy something from my store, to get the custom measurements, even if you know what your size is, because it can really benefit the fit.
Yeah, what kind of caught my eye, especially when I used to buy in fast fashion a couple of years ago, whenever you go into different one, you think you are the small or medium or whatever, and then you try it on and it's not good. And whatever you do, the size is just slightly off, and it's pissing you off so much because you don't actually know what to buy.
Yeah, yeah, really frustrating.
Yeah. I wanted
uh,
to also ask you, like, how long does it actually make you to make one of the garments? Because I can imagine that it is quite a long process as well. Like, because if you're doing everything yourself and everything is handmade, like, how long does it usually take you?
Yeah, so it obviously really depends on what the piece is. Some are very simple, some are a lot more complex. And another reason why I've chosen to do the different style of selling in terms of doing a drop instead of just having the shop open permanently is that I can kind of condense all the orders in sort of one period. So if I'm doing multiple of a piece, it's going to take me a lot less time and it's so much more efficient. Whereas if I'm doing lots of different pieces simultaneously that are very different, it takes longer because I have to stop in between each one and change up what I'm doing. So that can save me a lot of time, but it really depends. Some pieces can take several days if they're really fancy, complicated pieces. Some are very quick to whip up. So it really depends. But there's a whole range on there. So I get
Yeah, and that's good because whenever I ask this question to people, they're like, "Oh yeah, it can be this or it can be that." It really genuinely depends what they're making. Like obviously, like I had a lot of people that are knitting on the podcast, for example, and it's a lot of work to knit a jumper or something like that, especially depending on which materials you use. But let's say if somebody's ordering a dress or something like that, can you maybe run through the process of making something like that? How do you do it?
Yeah, so when I'm sort of releasing a new collection,
Hmm.
I'll normally make sort of several sizes for each piece, maybe like 2 or 3. And then when I release a drop online, I will get the orders through. Some will be those sizes. And then if there are some custom pieces, I will then alter all the patterns for those sizes. I do all the grading myself as well. So it means when I have all those custom pieces through, I can just alter little bits before I start cutting things out. And then pieces get cut, and then hopefully I'll have a few pieces that are the same design, and then I can do them simultaneously. So I'll do all of one part together and go through them and do them all in one go. Um, and then I'll do sort of a fit check on a tailor's dummy to make sure everything's fine, and then it gets packed up and shipped.
Pretty
Um,
cool.
piece can take sometimes a few hours, sometimes a couple of days. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty cool. Like, do you like, I also wanted to ask you actually at the beginning of the whole thing that we were talking about, how did you even get an idea to go into sustainability? Because I know that a lot of designers just choose to use whatever materials they can get. You know, as you know, it's harder to spend more time searching for the right materials when it comes to sustainability. So where this idea came from?
Yeah, I think it's so tricky when, the technology we have now, there's almost endless options. So it feels very restricting when you can only work with a certain sort of group of materials like deadstock or vintage
Yeah.
fabrics. But I quite like the challenge of it, having to work with what you've got. I've I've always been really interested in it. I mean, when I was little, my mum worked at a college and she'd go to these like scrap stores and she'd buy all these materials to do like craft projects. And I'd go with her and I'd come back with like a big roll of like astroturf or like netting or something and make this
Yeah.
sort of like dress up stuff. And I quite liked that sort of challenge and sort of kind of the creativity that came out of sort of using unusual materials, and just also like a consciousness of waste and the fact that we have so much in our world, so much material, so many products. It, in my mind, it seems crazy to add to that when we have so much around us. And if there is an option to reuse something to make something new, then like that has to be the option. So it's always been like the top priority of anything that I've created. So it was kind of like an obvious leap for me when I was starting things.
I love that. I love that so much because I know that often we don't put a label as, oh, I'm sustainable, or it's not, you don't want to push it out there either, because I know a lot of people are kind of, okay, I'm not perfect. I'm not doing everything that it's so good for me. But unconsciously, we start really getting into this even without thinking. Like even like not using, for example, transport for one day can change your habits a little bit, you know? And as you said, just kind of that little challenge of just using the materials, it's pretty good and it's pretty fun. And I like that answer a lot, actually, that you want to challenge yourself in a way.
Yeah, like
Uh,
I do like pop-ups and events that I sort of normally make things out of the vintage fabrics more often, because I'll source a lot of the times these sort of like really lovely pieces of table linen with like really unique patterns on and embroideries, and it's harder for me to sell online because each
mhm.
individual piece is different. I can't do custom sizing on them in the same way because I have to sort of make it and then take a picture of it and then put it online, and there's not another one of that. So I normally save those for when I'm doing pop-ups and events, and those are always the pieces that people are sort of like gravitate to and just really love because they're so unique. And it's, you know, the embroidery on these pieces will lead the design and will kind of format where the shoulder piece goes, or where this like big beautiful flower will go on the piece, so it really leads the design. But I think it makes such a unique piece, and without that material that I find and leading the process, you know, I would never get to these endpoints. So I think it leads a really unique way of designing clothes and creates really special pieces.
Yeah, you're right. And I do think that nowadays, like sustainability and all of these like small businesses and designers, what it's drawing people to you directly, it's that uniqueness and the whole work that goes into it, I think behind, it's like I will have this in my wardrobe and nobody else will have it, which I really, really love because nowadays when you enter like, I don't know, Zara now or Stradivarius or whatever of these fast fashion shops, everybody will look the same, you know, and that's especially for people that truly love fashion. You want that piece that is going to be in your wardrobe. You go out and you feel unique, you feel special, and it just feels different on your skin as well, in a way.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned pop-ups, and that's kind of where I want this conversation to go to as well, because I know you have a website as well, but tell us a bit about the pop-ups as well that you do and how often you do them and where people can find you.
I'm doing a pop-up in Glasgow at the moment, so it might be running for
Lovely.
a couple of days after this goes out. So I work with a company in Glasgow, and I sell through their shop. They're called Lunch, and they do pop-ups every now and again. So I do a lot of pop-ups with them. They're really great, and would definitely say check them out. They sell lots of really beautiful sustainable independent designers, and I've got really lovely stuff. So I do a lot with them. So I'm doing one currently, and then I do a few in Belfast. Any event that I do, I will post on my Instagram. So definitely, if you want to come and try things on and see things in the flesh, then give me a follow. Keep an eye on what's coming. There is the one that's at the moment. If you're in Glasgow, go check it out. Otherwise, keep posted on what might be coming in future, and then hopefully doing a drop this summer as well. So yeah, just keep an eye for future dates, and yeah, if you're in Glasgow, go check out the pop-up that's currently running.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see the new drop as well, because I know the last thing you did or that kind of caught my eye on your Instagram was like all black collection it was.
Yes,
And
yeah,
as
yes.
I wear a lot of black, like people that know me, they're gonna laugh now when they're gonna listen to this. But when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I love everything. Like I want everything from there, you know? And it's beautiful. I wanted to ask you as well, what inspired you for that? Like why all black collection?
Yeah, well, I normally, you know, I gravitate to color quite a lot, and
Yeah.
that normally what leads a lot of my work. But I had an urge to sort of do something very different, and kind of wanted to go down a sort of like gothic mythical sort of route.
Yeah.
And there's this beautiful woodland very close by to where I live, and I sort of go on walks there, and every time I was up there, I just kept getting all these like ideas, and I just wanted to create something that sort of existed in this space and was a bit sort of like mystical and gothic. And so I made all these dresses, and got a lovely group of friends together and did sort of like a little short campaign video up there, and it was just, yeah, really
Yeah.
the vision
It,
I had was just such a lovely project to do. So that was great fun.
Yeah, I love that. And you could feel that through the pictures that you took as well, like the photo shoot and everything. You could feel that vibe because everything was in a, like a, as you said, like in a field, like taking pictures in a forest and everything. And I love that. And I love those, I love the dresses a lot as well. So I just, the collection was perfect for me. I was like, yes, look at these. Like I was telling my friends as well, like, um, but yeah, and of course, I love the colors as well. But for me, just personally, I like to see it more on other people, you know. So even now, I'm wearing black. Like I can't separate from it. You know? It's that gothic mystical vibe that I like, you know. So definitely. What else I wanted to tell you as well? Yeah, I wanted to ask you, beside your brand, obviously, do you do anything else that is sustainable in your life? And if you don't, it's absolutely fine. It's just that I ask this everybody. It could be anything from walking to maybe being vegan or vegetarian, whatever you do in your life, just as an advice for other people.
Yeah, well, so another thing that I've sort of grown up with was through my family. A lot of my family, my grandparents in particular, would like grow their own veg, and kind of live off the land a little bit, not fully like you sort of would with a farm, but and my parents have had pigs over the years as well. So in little ways, I've sort of grown up with kind of a tiny bit of self-sufficiency. And I think I've sort of, that's kind of seeped into me as well. And I try to encompass a bit of that in my lifestyle. So I have a few chickens that I keep in my back garden. So I get
That's
fresh
so
eggs,
lovely.
which is lovely. And I have a little veg patch that I try and grow things in the summer. And I've also found really lovely producers here in Belfast for my veg and my meat. So I try and get everything like organic and local, and that's like a big priority for me to support local businesses, but also to make sure my food is, you know, coming from the right place and grown in the best way possible for the land and for myself. So that's always been something that's equally as important to me as making sort of sustainable clothings and reducing waste.
I love that. Oh my God, I can't believe you have chickens in your garden. Like, I didn't expect that at all. I
Yeah,
get
I
a
love
lot of different answers on this question, but this one is definitely unique.
it.
You're the first, yeah, that has chickens in your garden. And I love that because I do live in Dublin city center, and unfortunately, I am not even allowed to have a pet inside, which is kind of devastating for me because me and my partner, we want a cat for a very long time, and we just can find a place that accepts pets. And you know, the living situation in Dublin is quite horrible at the moment. Like everybody just can't find a place to live, actually. So it's housing crisis. But yeah, now when you said that, oh my God, so jealous.
Very lucky where I am in Belfast because
Yeah.
not too far from the centre, but I'm also just far enough out that I've got, you know, a big enough garden to keep a few chickens and have a bit of greenery. So it is lovely.
Yeah, that's very nice. And I do want eventually to live a bit outside of Dublin because it's not that ideal being in the city center, but you know, for work and these type of things, you kind of gotta keep it inside, you know, like in the city. But hopefully that will change. And I do agree with you on the local, like supporting local food and local farms. Lucky enough, like especially here where I live as well, like in Ireland, it's quite easy to reach out to these things. We have access to these things, so it's quite nice. Yeah,
I would encourage anybody to do it. You know, it's great, and there are, like you say, there are lots of options out there, and you just need to
yeah,
put in a little bit of research. And I think a lot of people will kind of be put off because, you know, they don't want to spend the extra money. But you know, I've started doing these things where I get like little subscription boxes and they come every week, and it stops me going to the supermarket and just like picking up things I don't need that have like little shiny boxes on them, you know, and you
yes,
just have what you need and it comes every time. And yeah, I think, you know, it can save you money sometimes too if you think about it carefully. So I would, yeah,
definitely. And
advocate
it
for
can
it.
reduce food waste as well, as you said, because sometimes we go to supermarket and we just get the things that we even don't need, and then you end up throwing a lot of food that is causing a lot of food waste. Um, but yeah, I want to go back to your shop. I wanted to ask you as well. Another question was, I know that you mentioned that the drop is coming in summer. Can you reveal anything or not yet?
Not just yet. Still
Okay.
need to decide on a date. But yeah, if you make sure you follow my page, if there's anything that comes out, it will be on there, and you can get all the info on dates and when you can shop the next drop.
We'll be waiting impatiently. I can't wait. I can't wait, honestly, because it's so interesting. Whenever I interview people, it's so fun to see where their work is going as well. You've been working on this for a long time now. Like you said, 4 years, you have your brand as well. Like, where do you see it going, or where would you like it to go?
So the last sort of few months, I've been, like I was saying, with the kind of change of format, with having my website open all the time to doing sort of drops every so often. I'm also sort of cutting. I would normally do 2 collections every year in the sort of spring, summer, and then the autumn, winter. But I am thinking of changing that now to just doing one a year, and just basically putting more focus on creating really lovely designs that are very true to what I want to do, and not sort of compromising and rushing things, because I think I've fallen into that trap, as I'm sure a lot
Definitely,
of
yeah.
people
A lot of
that
people for sure, yeah.
run their own businesses, and once you start selling a lot, you automatically sort of prioritize just getting as many orders out the door, and that kind of coming first. But now I feel like that's starting to compromise the sort of quality of the design of new things I bring out, and it's not giving me enough time to really focus on creating pieces that are really special and unique. So yeah, I'm putting that first now and changing my format slightly, but I still will be releasing new stuff, and I'll still be selling. It's just in a slightly different format.
And I love that, because at the end of the day, sustainable thing is to take care of yourself as well. And people often forget that. When you have your own business, it's hard sometimes to remember that you exist and that it's not everything for that brand. But also, like, we are coming slowly to the end because we've been talking already for 30 minutes. But I still have 3 questions for you that are more kind of personal, and they're more kind of related to the values of my podcast. So one of those questions is, what community means for you?
Well, I think it's, for me anyway, sort of moving over here, it's sort of like having a family away from home, and finding a group of people you can connect with in any part of the world. And I think, when if you're someone who sort of grows up somewhere and is automatically connected with your family and your friends around you through school and through your parents, and then you move somewhere new, it's about sort of like those people who are in your area that you can connect with and have the same interests and passions as you do, and sort of coming together and connecting and forming a community, and that sort of being a support network. And I've been really lucky moving here and finding that, and really feeling like I have a strong community here of people that I can support and also can support me, and to sort of rally each other on. And yeah, I think it's a special part of being a creative person as well, and having that, I think, is really important.
For sure, yeah, especially when you do something that it's in challenging in a way, you're doing everything for that small business that you're growing, and support system is so important, and community is so important. And as you said, when you move to a new place or you're away from your actual family or something like that, it's kind of like, oh, will I find my group of people again? And it's kind of questioning that. But then you do, and it's kind of like, oh, wow, like in every part of the world, we can connect with um, different people and be each other's cheerleaders or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But the second question is as well, when do you feel most comfortable? And this can be anything, like place, person, whatever you want.
Well, I think sort of as an offshoot from your previous question, being with the people that sort of I connect with, and that connect with me, and that we sort of rally each other on, and whether that's in a creative space or a social space, or an active space. I do a lot of sort of sport and running and things over here as well, and sort
Lovely.
of the people sort of that you connect with and that have similar passions to you. I think being in that space, like you say, in that community, is just such a lovely experience. And to have an opportunity where you have people around you that you can connect with, I think is so special, and is definitely when I'm the most comfortable, the most happy.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned sports as well and movement in general, because here it's very popular, like swimming, even though it's freezing cold, people go and swim.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like it's one of my things that I truly enjoy and I feel comfortable when I go and do that. And at first I was super scared to do that, but now it's one of the things that I find the most comfortable, you know? And
Yeah.
running, for example, and this type of stuff, and like through movement, finding that comfort as well, and being surrounded by people that like the same things as you. So that's lovely. I like that a lot. And the third and the last question is, where do you find inspiration for your ideas?
Oh, well, all over the place, really. But uh, for fashion and for design, I'd say my favorite way to sort of pick up inspiration is just sort of when I'm out and about, people watching and seeing sort of like unusual outfit combinations or different things people have sort of found in sort of thrift shops or vintage stores, and you see someone with something that's super unique. It sort of inspires me and gets me excited and draws me to create something. I think that's when I sort of get most excited about sort of playing with fashion and clothes, and can draw a lot of inspiration from what other people are wearing and how sometimes people wear things in a way that you would never have thought of. And
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
love the most because sometimes when I'm going through the streets, you can see the charity shop windows, and it's the most random things that they combine on the mannequin, which is so fun to me. Like I just go and stare in that, and I was like, I would never do that, you know? And then you get inspired to do something different, which is super, super cool. So when you mention the charity shops and thrifting as well, like I think that's so important to go out there and kind of enter the shops and see what's in them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It can bring you like a lot of ideas actually. Um, Thank you, Florence. This was lovely. Thank you for being my guest.
Thanks for having me. It's